Okay, so we'll continue now, friends. We will continue. Okay. See, now the next part is allowances. What is the meaning of allowance? What is the meaning of allowances? Benefits. Anything coming from the employer is a benefit only. So what is the meaning of allowance? Come on. Allowance means a fixed amount, fixed, given on a regular basis in addition to salary. So the basic salary which you are getting, that you are going to get from me. But in addition to that basic salary, some fixed amount I give you on a regular basis. That is known as allowance. Now why the allowance will be given? Simple. To meet certain personal expenses of the employee, or to meet certain expenses which happen in the course of your employment. Some official expenses you might incur, like traveling is done, yes or no? Then uniform is there, for uniform also. Some helper might be required, for helper also. So to meet the expenses of official nature incurred in the course of employment, or to meet your personal expenses, or it can be given for the purpose of or it can be given as a compensation for extreme working conditions. So three reasons why the allowance will be given. Number one, to meet the personal expenses of the employee, or to meet the expenses in the course of employment, or it can be given as a compensation for extreme working conditions. Few examples. Medical allowance. What allowance? To meet official expense or to meet personal medical expenses? Yes or no? I'll give you lunch allowance, tiffin allowance. It will be a personal allowance. Yes or no? So any type of allowance, what did I say? Given by the employer to the employee will be covered under the head salary. See, usually all the allowances are taxable. Usually all the allowances are taxable. But there are some allowances which are exempted by section number 10. Which section? Will you bring those allowance in the calculation here, or you will ignore them? From the calculation, reduce those allowances, eliminate those allowances. Yes or no? So there are certain allowances which are exempt, which are, you are supposed to remember those allowances. That okay, this allowance is exempt, this allowance is exempt, this allowance is exempt. Remember all those allowances. Don't bring those allowances in the computation of taxable salary. But other than exempt allowances, whatever balance allowances are there, all those allowances are taxable. All those allowances are. So what is the meaning of allowances? What is the meaning of allowances? See, I have made one chart here. Don't worry, these notes I will provide today. These notes will reach you. But remember, employer giving something to what he is giving. So for the employee, this allowance is nothing but income only, because given by employer. Now what is the meaning of this allowance? Allowance means a given in addition to. Allowance is a given in addition to to meet the expenses in the course of performing official duties, or to meet the personal expenses of the employee, or to compensate for unusual or extreme or extraordinary working condition. Few examples of this: traveling allowance, daily allowance, helper allowance, uniform allowances are few example of these type of allowances. Yes or no? Few examples of this: medical allowance, tiffin allowances. Yes or no? And many more. And this will be, have you heard about tribal area allowance? So you are working in some city, then this allowance will not be given. But if you are going to work for me in some tribal area which is very far away from the city, will the conditions, working conditions be extreme there? Yes. You will not find anyone around you. So till the time I will not give you something extra to work there, are you going to work for me there? No. So it is in the form of some compensation, some extra money. If you are going to work in Chennai for me, I will give you a salary of 20,000. But if you are going to work for me in some tribal area, I am going to give you a salary of 20,000 plus 2,000 rupees extra as a tribal allowance, so that you get motivated to go there and work. Yes or no? Sometimes you are working underground in the mines. Mines are there. So it is risky to work in mines. Sometimes any mishap can happen and you can lose your life also. But if I will not give you something extra to work over there, will you be interested or motivated to work over there? No. So as a compensation, I might give you what? Some amount extra on the name of mining area allowance, underground area allowance. Yes or no? So this is the meaning of allowance. This is in the examination you will not be asked this thing. What is the meaning of allowance? But for your understanding, you should be knowing this. Everyone? Hello, sir. Now, on the basis of tax treatment, the allowances are divided into these parts. All allowances, what did I say? All allowances are always taxable. All allowances are always, whether it is dearness allowance, entertainment allowance, all other cash allowances like medical allowance, overtime allowance, lunch allowance, domestic servant allowance, project allowance, city compensatory, etc. This is not the end of the list. Other than these, few more other type of allowances can also be given. Yes or no? I've just given you some examples. All the allowances, whenever you see any allowance, taxable, taxable, taxable. What will you do? Taxable, taxable, taxable. Amount of that allowance will be shown taxable in the computation of salary. But sometimes some allowances are exempt. So your focus should be on this part. Your focus should be on anything other than this. Any allowance other than this will be fully taxable on due or receipt, whichever is earlier basis. Yes or no? Everyone? Now pay attention. Now, from exempt allowances, there are two more categories. Some allowances are fully exempt, and some allowances are partly exempt and partly taxable. Now, in the fully exempt category, there are some allowances, like allowances given to judges, judges of Supreme Court, judges of High Court, court judges are there. So, whenever the judges get any allowances, those allowances are fully exempt. Never asked in the exams, just for the sake of your general knowledge. Allowances received by judges, fully exempt. Allowances received by employees of United Nations Organization, UNO. You might have heard about UNO, yes or no? So if you are an employee of UNO and you are given allowances, that allowance is fully, Now this allowance you are supposed to remember, this one. Foreign allowance. And I have already explained this while doing the second chapter, residential status and scope of total income. You are an Indian citizen rendering your services to your employer who is government Where are you rendering your services? Outside India. For rendering services outside India, you are getting salary outside India. That salary is taxable under this head. But along with the salary, you will be provided perquisites and allowances there. Those perquisites and allowances are known as foreign perquisites. Foreign allowances will be fully under section. So out of the fully exempt category, remember only this. Yes or no? No need to remember anything else. Getting my point? Now, there are certain notified allowances. Now, these allowances are no more in existence. The exemption which was earlier available for this allowances is no more available. So, ignore this part. Okay, no? So, how many allowances in the exempt category, fully exempt category? Allowances to the employee of and foreign allowances which is exempt under section 10(7). If you see any of these allowances, what are you going to do? Will you show it in the computation of taxable salary? No need to show in the computation of salary statement. Ignore. Yes or no? Yes or no? Now comes partly exempt and partly taxable allowance. Now in the partly exempt and partly taxable, there are further two parts. One is HRA, house rent allowance, which is exempt under section fully exempt, or some part of it will be exempt. Some part of it will be exempt. See, HRA might be fully exempt also, and some part of it can also be exempt. Then whatever part of HRA which is not exempt, will definitely be taxable. So whenever you will have HRA, first question, is it your income? Employer is giving you HRA. Is it your income? Yes. But out of this HRA income, some income is exempt under section. After taking the exemption, whatever HRA income remains, is it exempt? Show this amount taxable in your salary statement. Yes or no? So how much exemption you are going to get, that I am going to tell you. Don't worry about this. Okay. Now, there are certain special type of allowances, special allowances. Total 12 allowances I will tell you. How many allowances? Out of the special category, there are 12 allowances. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. These 6 allowances which you can see here, these 6 allowances are exempt under section 10(14). 10 based on the amount spent. Based on the amount. So the allowance which you are receiving, if that entire allowance is spent, then entire allowance will be exempt. If the allowance which you are receiving, out of that amount, some amount is spent and some amount is still with you, the amount which is unspent, which you could not spend out of this allowance, will not be exempt. It will be exempt to the extent of the amount spent. Okay. Now, which are those allowances? Traveling allowance, then daily allowance, then conveyance allowance. Conveyance allowance is sometimes also known as motor car allowance, scooter allowance, petrol allowance, diesel allowance, and next is academic or research allowance, then helper allowance, then uniform allowance. Yes or no? Will you remember this? Hello, sir. Now pay attention, pay attention. Now there are certain allowances, special allowances, which will be exempt under section 10(14). But now the exemption will not be on the basis of amount spent. Now the exemption will be based on the limits given in IT rules. So there is rule 2BB. There is rule in the income tax rules. And in this rule 2BB, the limits are prescribed. The limits are to the extent of the limit. If the allowance is received, then it is fully exempt. If the allowance received is more than the limits, then up to the extent of limit the allowance will be exempt, and anything over and above that will be taxable. Under section 10(14), the exemption is given based on the limit prescribed in IT rules. Yes or no? Now, which are those allowances? Children education allowance, children hostel expenditure allowance, running allowance, or sometimes also known as outstation allowance. Now, commutation allowance, or sometimes also known as transport allowance, underground area allowance or mining area allowance, or tribal area or scheduled area or agency area allowance. Yes or no? These are the different names of the same allowance. Hello? These are the different names of the same allowance. Yes or no? Now tell me one thing. Simple thing I'm asking you. Simple thing. What is the meaning of allowance? Did you understand that? Yes or no? Meaning of allowance, fixed amount, given regularly in addition to salary. Okay, no? Whenever you see any allowance, first thought, it is taxable. First thought. But if you recall that no, I saw this allowance in the exempt category. So you'll have to remember the exempt category. If you have seen this type of allowance in the exempt category, then don't tax it. Then you'll claim the exemption. Yes or no? Now the allowances can be dearness allowance. What will you do with this? Fully taxable. Then you can see entertainment allowance. It will also be fully taxable. Then all other cash allowances. Examples I gave you. All other cash allowances. City compensatory allowance, overtime allowance, lunch allowance, then domestic servant allowance, any type of allowance, all other cash allowance. What are you going to do? Taxable. What are you going to do? Now in the examination note, they will deliberately tell you that you have received medical allowance. Can you see medical allowance here? All other cash allowance, medical allowance will be covered, yes or no? They will deliberately give you that out of the medical allowance, 80% is spent for meeting medical expenses. What you will do? Underline that information. And besides that, you will write bullshit. What? Bullshit. Because these allowances are fully taxable. No exemption or no deduction is available with respect to these allowances. So even if these allowances are spent or any part of these allowances is spent, amount spent out of these allowances is not going to give you any benefit in the form of exemption or deduction. So deliberately it is given so that you get confused. Will you get confused in the exam? Yes or no? What you will do? The moment you will see this allowance, first fully taxable. Fully, any amount spent out of these allowance, what you will do? Ignore. I am not bothered to check that how much is spent out of this and how much is not spent. Yes or no? So any amount spent out of these allowances will not allow you to take any exemption or deduction. Ignore that amount. Yes or no? Because these are fully taxable. Now there are certain allowances which are given in which category? Exempt category. Okay. Now out of the exempt category, there are certain allowances which are fully exempt. Which are fully exempt? Allowances allowances to judges. Then allowances to employees of United Nations organization, and then foreign allowances. For this, the exemption is available under section 10 subsection 7. Which is the important one? You are supposed to remember this one. Yes or no? Then in the exempt category, some allowances are partly exempt and partly exempt and partly. Now this partly exempt and partly taxable is further divided into two parts. Number one, HRA. HRA exempt under section 1039. 10 and special or specific allowances exempt under section 10 subsection 14. Yes or no? Now in this category, special allowances will be exempt on the basis of amount spent and will be exempt on the basis of limits of IT rules. amount spent and IT rules. First allowance, traveling allowance. Which one? Second one, daily allowance. Third one, conveyance allowance. Yes or no? Next one, conveyance allowance is also known as motor car allowance, scooter allowance, diesel allowance, petrol allowance. These are the different names given to conveyance allowance. If any name is given, understand that this is conveyance allowance. Then academic or research allowance. Getting it or not? Okay. Then next one, helper, and then uniform. Done, sir. Now whatever amount of these allowances you are receiving, if the entire amount is spent, entire allowance is exempt. Yes or no? But out of this allowance, if some amount is spent and some amount is not spent, so the exemption will be to the extent of amount spent. For example, traveling allowance given 2000 rupees per month. How much? And if they are saying that 2000 entirely spent, how much will be exempt? Nothing will be taxable. Yes or no? But if they are saying that out of 2000 rupees of traveling allowance, the employee has spent 1800 rupees for traveling, then 1800 will be exempt under section 10(14), but remaining 200 cannot be claimed as exempt. That 200 you are supposed to show taxable. Yes or no? Yes or no? But what if they are saying that traveling allowance given was 2000 per month and you are spending 2400 per month? My first question, how much you got? Can I say you have spent 2400, meaning that this entire 2000 is spent? Fully exempt. Extra 400 which you have spent, no, is not given by employer. You must have spent that amount out of your own pocket. Yes or no? For which you are going to claim a reimbursement from your employer. And that reimbursement of that 400 rupees will not be treated as your income, because that is the reimbursement of your official traveling expense. So reimbursement of official expenses by the employer is not treated as your benefit. Hello? It will be ignored. Understanding? Now 5000 rupees per month is given for helper. How much? 5000 entirely spent. 5000 will be exempt. Nothing will be taxable. Out of 5000, 3800 spent. 3800 will be exempt and the remaining 1200 will be taxable. What if helper allowance you were getting 5000 but you spent 5500? Meaning in that 5500, entire 5000 is spent. Entire 5000 will be exempt. What about that extra 500? You have spent that out of your own pocket. For that you are going to get reimbursement from the, and that reimbursement will not be treated as your income, because that is reimbursement of official expense. Got it, sir? These 6 allowance you will remember. Now one catch will be there. In the examination, no, they will give you any of the allowance. For example, they have given you conveyance allowance. 1500 per month. How much? And they are not saying anything that how much out of this is spent. What are you going to do? The safest assumption that if nothing is said that how much out of this allowance is spent, we will assume that the entire amount is spent for the purpose for which it was given. Hence it is fully exempt. And then we are going to give a small note that in the absence of any specific information regarding the amount spent out of the conveyance allowance, yes or no, we have assumed that the entire amount of conveyance allowance is spent for the purpose for which it was given, and hence we have taken the exemption, full amount as exempt. Yes or no? But if the examiner is giving you the amount spent, then the exemption will be available to the extent of amount spent only. Yes or no? Will you remember these 6 names? What are the names? Traveling allowance, daily allowance, conveyance allowance, academic or research allowance, helper allowance, and yes or no? Now simple, how to remember these 6 names? These 6 names you will remember right now. And tomorrow if I'll ask you, no, you will recollect hardly 1 or 2 names. T for, D for, C for, A for, H for, R for, U for uniform allowance. If you will remember from the first letter, from the first 100%, after few days, T for traveling allowance you will not remember. You will remember T for telephone allowance. Getting my point? So don't make any key with the first letter. Try to make a story. And in that story, use these words. In that story, use all these 6 words. So that because of that weird story, these 6 words are already, understood and remembered also. Try to imagine that you are traveling daily. Close your eyes and, try to visualize that I am traveling daily in a conveyance. Conveyance means any vehicle. Vehicle can be a motor car, vehicle can be a scooter, vehicle can be any motorcycle. Try to imagine that I am traveling daily in a conveyance. Conveyance can be any conveyance with any academic or research helper, and we both are in uniform. So traveling daily in a conveyance. Traveling daily in a conveyance with academic or research helper, and we both are in uniform. Done. These 6 names are remembered. You're not supposed to forget. Okay, no? Now, let's come to this part. There are certain special allowance which are exempt under section 1014 only, but the exemption is given based on limits prescribed in. So now the first allowance is children education allowance. Children. Second one is children hostel expenditure allowance. Third one is running allowance, or it may also be called as outstation allowance. Yes or no? Then after that, after running allowance, there is commutation, or sometimes also known as transport allowance. Yes or no? Then after that, there is one more allowance known as tribal area allowance. Sorry, underground area or mining area allowance. Underground or mining area. And next one is tribal area or scheduled area allowance. Yes or no? Now see, these 6 names you are supposed to remember. Other allowances are also there, like high altitude area allowance, which is given to usually the soldiers placed on Siachen glacier and all. Yes or no? High altitude area allowance, border area allowance, disturbed area allowance. There are other allowances also, but those are not relevant for the examination point of view. In the examination, these allowances are never asked. Only these allowances, 6 allowances which I have written, no, these are being tested. Yes or no? So children education allowance, the limit given in IT rules, is 100 PMPC for maximum 2 children. How much is this? 100 PMPC for maximum 2 children. And for children hostel expenditure allowance, it is 300 PMPC for maximum 2 children. Running or outstation allowance is exempt, either 10,000 per month or 70% of allowance received. Yes or no? whichever is lower, whichever is. So either 10,000 per month will be exempt or 70% of the allowance, whichever is lower, that will be exempt. But this exemption will be available only if the employee is not in receipt of daily allowance. He is not getting daily allowance and he is in the transport sector. He is in the transport sector. So this allowance given to the employee of transport sector will be exempted, provided he is not in receipt of daily allowance. Only then this allowance will be exempt. How much? 10,000 per month or 70% of the allowance received, whichever is lower. Now commutation or transport allowance will also be exempt. But for normal employees, no exemption. If you are a handicap employee, which employee? Then the limit is 3,200 per month. Yes or no? For normal employees, it is fully taxable. But if in the case of handicap employee, it is exempt up to 3,200 per month. Now, underground area allowance or mining area allowance is 800 per month. Tribal area allowance is 200 per month. Yes or no? These are the limits which are given in Rule 2BB. Which rule? So in the Rule 2BB, these are the maximum limits prescribed for these allowances. Your employer giving you allowance to the extent of this much will be fully exempt. But if your employer giving you these allowances more than this limits, then exemption will be available to the extent of limits and the excess amount will be taxable. Yes or no? Hello? Children education allowance. 100 rupees per month per child your employer is giving, fully exempt. Less than that, fully exempt. Yes or no? But for maximum 2 children, you can take this exemption. What if your employer is giving you 100 rupees per month per child or less than that for your 3 children? 2 children, you can take the exemption. And for the 3rd child, exemption cannot be claimed even if the amount is less than equal to 100. Yes or no? What if your employer is giving you more than 100 per month per child? More than 100 per month per child. Up to 100 it will be exempt. Excess it will be. But for 2 children. For the remaining children, the entire amount will be taxable. Yes or no? But for children hostel expenditure allowance, the limit is not 100, it is 300 per month per child. Running area allowance, running allowance or outstation allowance, which is given by the employer in transport sector to his employees, who is not receiving daily allowance, will also be exempt up to 10,000 per month or 70% of the allowance received, whichever is lower. To that extent, it will be exempt. Then there will be commutation allowance, commutation or transport allowance. Even that will be exempt. But for that, the employee should be handicapped receiving this allowance. Yes or no? If a normal employee is receiving transport allowance, for him it will be fully taxable. Getting my point? Hello, sir. And then underground area allowance, or sometimes also known as mining area allowance, that will be fully exempt if the amount is 800 or less. If the amount is more than 800 per month per child, no, 800 per month only. I have not written PMPC. Per month per child. No, only per month. This is not for children, this is for you. Yes or no? So 800 you are getting or less, you are getting fully exempt. More than 800, up to 800 exempt, balance will be taxable. What about the tribal area or scheduled area allowance? 200 you are getting or less than that you are getting fully exempt. More than that, 200 exempt, the balance will be. Now somebody will have some doubts that, sir, I get very confused in traveling allowance and conveyance allowance. And see, on top of that, here is a transport allowance also. So all the 3 types of allowances look same, but the meanings are different. See, if you don't understand the difference between traveling allowance and conveyance allowance, no, there will be no problem. Why? Because the tax treatment for both is same. So even if you don't know the difference, it will have no effect. Your answer will still be correct. Yes or no? Traveling allowance and conveyance allowance. What is the difference? Simple. For the purpose of your duties, you have to travel to different locations. Like from Chennai, you are going to Bangalore, you are going to Hyderabad, you are going to Mumbai. At different places, you will be traveling for the purpose of your duties. So to perform your duties, you have to travel at different locations. So ticket fares, like bus fare, train fare, or airline fare, you will take that money out of your own pocket. So to meet the traveling cost, to meet the cost of traveling, which you might incur in the course of performing your duties, this allowance is given. Yes or no? What is conveyance allowance? In the course of performing your duties, you are using some conveyance, you are using some vehicle, like scooter, motorcycle, motor car. These are used by you while performing your duties. So there might be some cost involved for their repair maintenance, for their petrol, diesel, etc. Yes or no? So to meet the cost of that conveyance, yes or no? Cost of operating that conveyance, which you are using for the purpose of your duties, official duties, this allowance is given. How will you run the vehicle? For example, for official work, you are supposed to travel in the entire Chennai to meet the clients, to meet the customers. You are supposed to travel. So the company has given you some conveyance. Company has given you some vehicle, or you are using your own vehicle. Possible or not? So to meet the cost of that vehicle, cost of running that vehicle, repair and maintenance, or diesel, petrol, etc. for that vehicle which is used to perform your official duties, this conveyance allowance is given. Now did you understand the difference? So if the conveyance allowance is there, amount spent will be exempt. If the traveling allowance is there, amount spent will be exempt. Understanding? So your answer will remain same even if you don't know this difference. But what is the transport allowance? Come on, tell me. This is your residence. This is your house. And this is your office. Residence to office. And office to residence. This distance is covered through metro. Possible? Hello? Or through bus, or through any modes of transport. Possible? You are here in West Mambalam. Your office is in West Mambalam. And you are traveling from Mahabalipuram every day. Possible? Many people are coming from that side to work here. Every day they will come and they will go. They will come and they will go. Office to residence, residence to office. To do this traveling, many modes of transportations are there. Metro is there, buses are there, hello, local trains are also there. So you might be using any of these transportation modes for traveling between residence to office and office to. So will you incur any cost for this traveling between residence to home? So to meet this cost of traveling between residence to office and office to residence, the employer will give you an allowance known as transportation allowance, or sometimes also known as commutation allowance. You are commuting between office to residence and residence to office. If you are a handicap employee and employer gives you 3,000 rupees fully exempt because the limit is 3,200, and if you are a handicap employee, employer is giving you 5,000 rupees per month, Up to 3,200 it will be exempt and 1,800 will be taxable. Will you remember this? But if you are a normal employee and employer is giving you 2,000 only, fully taxable. No exemption is given to normal employees. Will you remember this? Everyone. Now very, 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 very important thing I am going to discuss here with you. See, traveling daily in a conveyance with academic or research helper in, you remember all these things? Very good, very good. Now tell me, next, children, education allowance, children, hostel expenditure allowance. Then next one is running or outstation allowance. Yes or no? Next one is commutation or transportation allowance, underground area allowance or mining area allowance, tribal area or scheduled area allowance. Yes or no? Now how to remember these 6 names? See, limits you will remember, but names are important to remember. Yes or no? Children, 2 children. Sir, children, 2 children. What the children does? Sir, running. Children will be running. Where? Office to residence. Residence to office. Meaning, children, 2 children, running and commuting. Running and where? Underground in tribal area. Done. Children, 2 children, running and commuting. Where? Underground in tribal area. Done. So these names will be remembered. Now, the important discussion which I am going to do here is if you are not covered by default tax regime, meaning you are shifting out. You are? Yes or no? This will be exempt, this will be exempt, this will be exempt, 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 exempt. Exempt, 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 exempt and exempt. You can claim the exemption for all these allowances. Whatever discussion I have done assuming we are shifting out. Then these allowances are exempt. Under section 10(14), these are exempt on the basis of amount spent. And these are exempt on the basis of limits. Limits in IT rules. Yes or no? This will be exempt under section 10(14). And this will also be exempt under section. So exemption for all these allowances can be taken. If you don't follow default tax regime, you shift out. But if you don't shift out, meaning you remain in the default tax regime, in that case, what will happen? The exemption for traveling, daily and conveyance allowance will still be available. Exemption for traveling, daily and conveyance allowance will be still available. But the exemption for all other allowances will be denied. Except commutation and transportation allowance. Exempt for handicap employees. Yes or no? So only 4 allowances you can claim as exempt. 1, traveling. 2, daily. 3, conveyance. Based on the amount spent, claim the exemption. Even if you are following 115 BSE, you can claim the exemption. Yes or no? And 3,200 per month for handicap employees. The allowance is commutation allowance or transport allowance. Exempt, no? Even if you are following 115 BSE, still it will be exempt. But all other allowances, exemption will be gone. Exemption will be gone. Meaning that, are you going to get any exemption for these allowances? No. If you follow 115 BSc, exemption will be lost. Sure? Paka? You have to remember this. Don't commit mistake over here. Okay. Now this was your special category of allowance. If you remember, see what I was doing. Dearness allowance, entertainment allowance, all other cash allowances, exempt allowance, fully exempt allowance, partly exempt and partly taxable. We have covered this special allowance category, entirely done. Entirely. Now HRA. What is this? See, HRA exemption under section 1013A will be available if you follow, no, if you don't follow 115 BSc, then only 1013A exemption will be available. But if you follow 115 BSc, meaning you are in the default tax regime, yes or no, then exemption for HRA will not be available. So HRA exemption will be available only if you shift out. You follow the normal tax regime, optional tax regime, yes or no? But if you don't shift out, you remain in the default tax regime, then will you get exemption or no exemption? No exemption for HRA. HRA will be fully taxable. Yes or no? Now, for example, we are shifting out. We are, meaning, are we following 115 BSc or not following? Not following. Then are we going to get exemption? Yes or no? How much exemption? A, B and C, whichever is lower. A, B and C, whichever is. A is actual amount of HRA. Actual amount of. B is either 40% or 50% of your salary. And C is rent paid. Rent paid minus 10% of your salary. 10% of your this salary to calculate the HRA exemption. To calculate the HRA exemption, salary includes basic plus DA in terms and plus turnover commission. These three things you are going to take in the salary, and based on this salary only the exemption will be calculated. Yes or no? And this salary will be taken on what basis? Due basis. What basis? For the period for which rent is paid. Rent is paid. Now tell me, are you an employee? Tell me yes or no. Are you receiving HRA? Are you receiving HRA? Following 115 BSc. HRA will be fully taxable. No exemption. No need to do all these things. Yes or no? But are you an employee? Yes. Receiving HRA and not following 115 BSc. Not following. Will your HRA be exempt? Will your HRA be exempt? Condition is there. We can give you the exemption. Since you are not following 115 BSc, we can give you the exemption under section 1013A. But if you want to claim the exemption, you will have to fulfill a condition. Condition is that you should not stay in your own house. HRA is received for what? Paying the rent, no? So will you pay any rent if you will stay in your own house? No. You should not be staying in your own house. You should stay in someone else's house. And to stay there, you are paying some rent also out of your HRA. So the first condition is you have to spend your HRA to pay the rent. You have to spend the HRA to pay the, only then you can get the exemption. But remember, the rent paid by you out of your HRA, the rent paid by you should be more than 10% of your salary. should be more than 10% of your. What if the rent paid by you is equal to 10% or less than 10%? HRA exemption is not available, because in that case the limit C will become negative. Limit C is what? Rent paid over and above 10%. Yes or no? So any rent which is over and above 10%, this limit is positive, then you are going to get the exemption. What if this limit is negative? Meaning the rent paid by you is less than 10% of your salary. You are not going to get any exemption. Will you remember this, everyone? So tell me, first one, actual HRA. Second one, 40% of salary or 50% of your salary. Sometimes it will be taken 40%, sometimes it will be taken as 50%. See, if the rent is paid by you out of HRA, if the rent is paid by you in metro cities, which cities? MKDC. MKDC. M for Mumbai, Kolkata, Delhi and Chennai. These are metro cities, yes or no? If employer is giving you HRA and out of that HRA you are spending amount on rent in metro cities, then limit be 50% of your salary. But if the rent is paid by you in some other city, some other town, yes or no, then limit B will be 40% of your salary, yes or no? And the rent paid should exceed 10% of your salary, meaning the limit C, whatever rent you have paid which is in excess of 10%, that amount, or 40 or 50% of your salary, or actual amount of HRA, whichever is lower, whichever is, to that extent your HRA will be exempt, and any HRA over and above this amount will be taxable. Yes or no? And to calculate the HRA exemption, you need salary. You need what? You need salary to calculate the HRA exemption. This salary will be basic, DA incomes and turnover commission. See, wherever we are going to do the calculations, and in the calculations we want what? Salary. In the calculations we want, everywhere we are going to take basic, DA incomes and turnover commission, till the time the salary is not defined differently. Till the time the salary is not defined differently, everywhere we are going to take basic, DA incomes and turnover commission. Yes or no? Hello sir, this HRA exemption, will you remember this? Sure sir. Now I will give you one example. You are going to tell me. April to March, full previous year. April to full previous year. I am working in some company. That company is giving me HRA for the full year. Will I get the exemption for the full year? HRA for all the months will be exempt? Yes. If out of the HRA of all the months, I have paid the rent for all the months. April month HRA received, rent is paid. May month HRA is received, rent is paid. Likewise, from April to March, every month HRA received, every month rent is paid. Yes or no? So I will get the exemption for every month. I will get the exemption for, yes or no sir? But wait, there is a possibility that HRA is received for every month, but I am not paying rent for every month. Possible? I joined my employer in the month of April. I joined my employer in the month of, in Chennai. I told him that see, I am coming from Madurai. My family, my native, my mother, father, my house is in Madurai, and I am coming to work here in. So I will have to stay in a rented house in Chennai. So my employer says, okay, no problem. From April you are working with me, no? From April onwards I am going to give you what? HRA. But what I did, no? From Madurai when I came, no? In the April month, I am not taking any house on rent. I am staying with my uncle. My uncle stays in Chennai. So I am staying with my and not spending any amount on rent. April month, did I receive HRA? But did I spend that HRA for rent? April HRA will not be exempt, fully taxable. May month, again I was staying with my uncle. Did I spend the rent? Did I spend the HRA to pay the rent? May month HRA is also taxable. June month HRA is also fully taxable because I was staying with my uncle. I took one house on rent from July onwards. I took one house on rent from July onwards. So now tell me, starting from April till March, 1st of April 24 to 30th June 2024, HRA is received, but rent is paid or not paid? Not paid. Yes or no? Now, from July onwards till 31st March, from 1st of July to 31st March, HRA is also received and rent is also. So this 3 months HRA will be fully taxable and this 9 months HRA I can claim as exempt. So tell me, will I calculate the exemption for this period only? Hello? So July month, what was my HRA? Out of that, exemption I will take. Yes or no? So to calculate this exemption, actual HRA, actual or 40 or 50% of salary, 40 or 50% of salary. This is A, this is B and this is C. Rent paid minus 10% of. Now this salary I will take for which month? July. Whatever salary becomes due in the July month, basic, DA in terms, turnover commission which becomes due in the July month, based on that salary this exemption will be calculated. For August also I will do the same thing. Hello? August month I will receive HRA. August month I have paid rent. So in the month of August, what was the salary which becomes due? Basic, DA in terms and turnover commission which becomes due in the month of August. Based on that salary, the HRA exemption for August will be calculated. Yes or no? Now tell me, for September also I will have to do the same things. Now tell me, one thing I will be doing 9 times because HRA every month is same. Every month HRA amount is, every month rent amount paid is same. Every month the rent is paid in Chennai, 50%. Hello? Every month the salary amount, basic, DA in terms, turnover commission is same. So one calculation which I will be doing for June, the same calculation will happen for July. Sorry, one calculation which I will be doing for July, same calculation will happen for August, same calculation will happen for September, same calculation will happen for one calculation 9 times. It is better to multiply by 9 rather than calculating single amount, same amount 9 times. Calculate for 9 months together, no? So can you calculate the HRA exemption for the full period together? Yes, if HRA amount is same, rent paid amount is same, rent is paid at the same location. Hello? And the salary for every month is same. In that case I will not have to calculate monthly. I will calculate for the full period together. Yes or no? But if, remember, any of these 4 variables change during these 9 months, if my HRA amount changes, or the rent which I am paying, that rent paid amount is changing, or the location where I am paying the rent. Earlier I was paying rent in Chennai, now I have started paying rent in Madurai. So instead of 50%, now it will become 40%. Hello? Or the basic DA in terms, turnover commission, this salary is changing. If any of these four things change during these 9 months, then I will have to do the calculation on month basis. Yes or no? And if all the amounts are same for these 9 months, the calculation will be done together. Because instead of doing the same calculation 9 times, do the calculation for 9 months together. Because all the amounts are same. Will you remember this? So for this, on this point, there is one question, no, 2 questions in your ICI study mat, wherein this concept they have exploited. Today only at home, solve those 2 questions on HRA. Okay. One question, full calculation for the entire year is done. Another question, calculation on a monthly basis is done. Everywhere, what you are supposed to do? The months in which HRA is given but rent is not paid. HRA is given but rent is not, for those months, what are you going to do? Full HRA taxable, no exemption. Why? Because to claim the HRA exemption, what you are supposed to do? You are supposed to pay the rent. Have you paid the rent? So will you take the exemption? But for those months for which you are receiving HRA also and you are paying the rent also, you are going to get the exemption. Now exemption will be A, B, C, whichever is lower. A, actual HRA. B, 50% or 40% of your salary depending on the place where you are paying rent. If you are paying rent in metros, then 50% of salary. Other places, then 40% of salary. And limit C will be rent paid minus 10%. Remember, the salary will be taken as basic salary, DA in terms, turnover commission, which becomes due in the month in which the rent is paid out of your HRA. Nothing else you are going to take. Even if that salary is not received, no matter what, whatever salary which becomes due in that month, take that salary, and based on that the exemption will be calculated. Done, sir? What if the rent paid is less than 10% of salary? Less than or equal to? Less than or equal to 10% of salary. Rent paid is less than or equal to 10% of salary. Then definitely this limit which is there, this will be negative. And if limit C comes negative, HRA exemption is not available. HRA exemption is, will you remember this? Sure, sir. Okay. So this was the end of your HRA exemption. Will you remember this? Now please, DA is there and EA is there. What is entertainment allowance? What is dearness allowance? Once we discuss this, the allowance will be over. Okay. Now tell me. Simple thing I am asking you. Dearness allowance. Dearness allowance means this is an allowance given to meet inflationary situations. Over a period of time, inflation is growing, no? But at the rate at which the inflation is going, at that same rate your salary might not be increasing. Yes or no? So to meet the additional cost on your household, which might be because of inflation, yes or no, your employer might give you dearness allowance. See, this amount he could have given you in the form of salary also, but giving on the name of what? Dearness allowance. Exemption should be available for this or should not be available for this? Just imagine if the exemption for this is given. My salary is how much? 1 lakh rupees. I will tell my employer to give me 10,000 rupees and rest 90,000 in the form of dearness allowance. Why? Because dearness allowance is exempt, no? So I will try to maximize my salary. Sorry, I will try to take maximum amount of my salary in the form of what? Dearness allowance. Because inflation is not going to go away. Inflation will always be there, and on the name of meeting the inflation, my employer is giving me this DA. I will try to, take the exemption. So it will be risky if the exemption is given for these type of things. Yes or no? So no exemption. Dearness allowance will be fully. Now DA is always given as per employment terms. Contract of employment is there, no? So you and your employer, you both will enter into an employment contract. So in that contract, employment contract, the DA which is agreed by the employer to be given, yes or no? The DA which is given as per the terms of employment contract, that DA is known as DA in terms. The DA which is given in terms of your employment contract, which is written in employment contract, that DA is given. That is DA in terms. But sometimes employment contract is entered, yes or no? And that time the employer did not decide that he is going to give you what? DA. And later on, you requested your employer to increase your salary. So employer said, no, I will not increase the salary, but do one thing. I am going to give you that salary in the form of what? DA. So even though that DA was not written in the employment contract, that was not in the terms of employment contract, still that DA was given to you. So that type of DA which is not written in the employment contracts and still given by the employer is known as DA not in terms. DA. So whether you receive DA in terms or you receive DA not in terms, both are taxable. But see, the DA which is written in terms of your contract will always go to calculate your retirement benefits. So to calculate your retirement benefits, the DA in terms is used. And at the time of calculating your retirement benefits, the DA which is not in terms is not used. What is retirement benefits? You are working with me right now. After a few years, you will retire, no? So at the time of your retirement, I will have to pay you some retirement benefits at that time. Gratuity, pension and all. So whatever retirement benefits I am going to pay you that time will be based on your contractual salary, which will include your DA also. So the salary which I am giving you as per contract, the salary which I am going to give you as per, that salary will be higher if the DA is written in the contract, because DA is also counted as a part of salary, and based on this salary your retirement benefit will be calculated. The more salary will be there, the more retirement benefits you are going to get at that time. Getting my point? Hello sir. But if I don't write DA in the contract, your contract will have less salary, because DA is not written in the contract and still I am going to give you that DA. Yes or no? So the DA which is given to you right now is not written in the contract. That means your contractual salary is less. Less salary will be used in the future to calculate your retirement benefits. That time will you get higher retirement benefits or lower retirement benefits? Why? Because your contractual salary is less, because the DA is not written in the contract. If the DA would have been written in the contract, it would have formed part of salary to calculate your retirement benefits. Your salary would have been higher and retirement benefits would have been higher. So majority of the times the employer try to avoid writing the DA in the contract, because he knows that if I write the DA in the contract, this DA will form part of salary to calculate retirement benefits. The more DA will form part of salary, the more salary will be there, and based on the more salary, the more retirement benefits will go. I will lose money in lakhs. So what the employer does, he will promise you. First of all, he will negotiate with you right now. See, your salary is how much? 50,000. How much? As per contract, I am writing 10,000 DA. So how much salary you are going to get? 60. 50 plus 10. When the month will end, he will negotiate. He will convince you that your salary should be 60,000. See, your work which you are going to do for me, is not that much. great job which you are going to do. So 50,000 salary is sufficient and 10,000 DA is sufficient. The way in which I will negotiate with you will be different. So I will convince you for 60,000. Now when the month will end, I am going to give you 70,000 or 75,000. You will tell me that, sir, my salary was only 60. Why are you giving me 75? I will say that you should be given DA of how much? 25,000. But I wrongly written how much? 10,000. Yes or no? Remaining 15,000 I am giving on my own, even if I am not written in the contract. You will say, wow, this employer is very good. He is becoming a genuine person, understanding that 60,000 salary is not sufficient, 75,000 should be my salary. So 50,000 he has fixed my salary and 25,000 he has fixed what? DA. He forgot to write 15,000 as DA in the contract. He wrote only 10,000. Even if he has forgotten to write 15,000, still he is giving that extra 15,000 to you. You will develop respect for me. Loyalty also. See, he has not written DA in the contract, still he is giving me DA. He is not doing any favor to you. He is trying to fool you. Because the less DA he will write in the contract, at the time of calculating the retirement benefits, your salary will be less. And you are going to get less retirement benefits at that time. Getting my point? So your employer is becoming smart. He is not a good man. He is a bad person. So whenever you join any organization and that organization tells you that we are going to give you this, we are going to give you this, tell them, write down everything on the paper, in the contract, and only then give that thing to me. Otherwise, don't take. Getting my point? Whatever he will promise, tell him to promise on the paper, on the contract. If it is on the contract, no, you can tell him, you can enforce him to make that payment. Never, believe on the words coming from his mouth. They can deceive you. What is DA? Understood? So DA can be in terms, DA can be not in terms. In many calculation, DA in terms are taken. In many calculation, entire DA in terms as well as not in terms. Entire DA is taken. So in majority of the case, DA in terms is used. Yes or no? For gratuity calculation, for leave salary calculation, exemption and all. That we are going to see. Don't worry about it. Okay? Done with this? Done with this? Perfect. Now pay attention. Now, what are we going to do? This was your DA. Now, entertainment allowance. Have you heard about this? Entertainment allowance. Now, if the entertainment allowance is given by the employer to the employee, and the employee is a government employee. Which employee? So, two effects will be given. This entertainment allowance will be first taxable, and the second effect will be the deduction will be available under 16 clause 2 if it is received by a government employee. And if the entertainment allowance is received by non-government employee, which employee? Non-government employee, then it will be taxable, but the deduction available under section 16 clause 2 will not be available to non-government employee. So first you will have to see that what type of employee you are. Are you a government employee? Yes. Receiving entertainment allowance? Yes. First effect, taxable as your salary. And second effect, once you have taxed it, after that, claim the deduction under section 16 clause 2. Yes or no? And if you are a non-government employee, receiving what? Receiving entertainment allowance. First effect, fully taxable. Now, even if you want, you cannot claim the deduction, because deduction under section 16 clause 2 is available only to. Now, government employee will get the deduction of A, B or C, whichever is. A is 20% of salary. 20% of, meaning 1/5 of your basic salary. Which salary? So first take your basic salary, and 1/5 of that or 20% of that will be your limit A. Limit B is actual entertainment allowance, which you have received and taxed. That actual entertainment allowance. And limit C is maximum 5,000. Is it per month? No. This is per annum. So the maximum deduction for entertainment allowance cannot be more than 5,000. Limit A, limit B higher than 5,000. The deduction will be 5,000. Limit A, limit B lower than 5,000. Then the lower amount will be allowed as a deduction and not 5,000. In no case the deduction will be more than 5,000. But that will be available only to the government employee. And remember, this deduction under section 16 clause 2 will be available only if the assessee does not follow. Does not follow. If the assessee follows 115 BSE, then even if you are a government employee, 16 clause 2, entertainment allowance will not be allowed. Yes or no? Tell me. Now tell me one thing. If 115 BAC is not followed, and you are a government employee, you are a first effect, entertainment allowance taxable, and second effect, deduction under section 16 clause 2. Will you remember? If you are a non-government employee, first effect taxable, and 16 clause 2 deduction is not available in case of, so 115 BSE not followed. Yes or no? What if 115 BSE is followed? What if 115 BSE is followed and you are a government employee? First taxable and deduction will not be available. You are a non-government employee, first taxable, deduction was anyways not available to you. Will you remember this? This treatment you are supposed to give for entertainment allowance. Now the entertainment allowance given by the employer to the employee, fully taxable, and then deduction may or may not be available depending on the fact that whether you are a government employee or non-government employee, depending on the fact that whether you are following 115 BSE or you are not following 115 BSE. Right now, but in the question, no, sometimes they will try to fool you. They will tell you that out of the entertainment allowance of rupees 3,000 per month, entertainment allowance 1,500 rupees per month, out of the 1,500 rupees per month entertainment allowance, amount spent for the hospitality of the clients, entertainment of the clients, 1,200 per month. What you will do? Underline. And then bullshit. Based on the amount spent out of entertainment allowance, no exemption, no deduction is available. Deduction, even if available, does not require you to spend any amount. Deduction is A, B, C, whichever is lower. In none of the limits, amount spent is required. Getting my point? So even if amount spent out of entertainment allowance is given in the question, that is given to confuse you. Ignore that amount. Yes or no? And the examiner might tell you, you have received the entertainment allowance, but you have not spent anything out of entertainment allowance. So what? There is no requirement of spending the entertainment allowance to claim the deduction. So even if that is not spent, still you are going to get the deduction. Yes or no? And even if it is spent, the amount spent has to be ignored, because based on the amount spent, you are not going to get any deduction or exemption out of entertainment allowance. Yes or no? So this was your entertainment allowance. So we had a discussion about 16 clause 2. One deduction we have already covered with entertainment allowance. Yes or no? Now there are two more deductions. 16 clause 1A and 16 clause 3. 16 clause 1A talks about standard deduction. How much is the standard deduction? Either the gross taxable salary. See, whatever gross taxable salary you will calculate, from that gross taxable salary you are going to get this deduction. So the standard deduction will be equal to gross taxable salary or 50,000, whichever is lower. Whichever is standard deduction. If you don't follow 115 BSE, if you don't follow, then the standard deduction will be 50,000 or the amount of gross taxable salary. What if your gross taxable salary is 5 lakhs? Are you going to get the standard deduction of 5 lakhs? or 50,000 maximum? Maximum 50,000. What if your gross taxable salary is 20 lakhs? Then also standard deduction will be 50,000. Hello? What if your gross taxable salary is 5 crores? Still you are going to get the standard deduction of 50,000. Standard deduction cannot be more than 50,000. Yes or no? But what if your gross taxable salary was only 35,000? Then the standard deduction will not be 50. Then the standard deduction will be equal to the amount of your gross taxable salary, which is less than 50,000. Yes or no? But if you follow 115 BSc, if you follow, will you get 16 clause 1A deduction? Standard deduction will be available or will not be available? Will be available even if you follow 115 BSc. But in that case, the limit will not be 50, limit will be, yes or no? This is important part. You are supposed to remember. 115 BSc not followed 50,000. 115 BSc followed 75,000. Yes or no? This is standard deduction. Now next one. 16 clause 3. 16 clause 3 talks about professional tax, or sometimes also known as employment tax. See, this is a tax. This is a tax on profession or tax on employment. This is a tax on profession or employment. This tax is paid to state governments. This tax is paid to. So whatever tax on the profession or the employment paid, what did I say? Paid during the relevant previous year. The amount which is actually paid during the previous year shall be allowed as a deduction under clause 3. Under clause, if you don't follow 115 BSc. If you don't follow, but if you follow 115 BSc, then the deduction for professional tax will not be allowed. So, if I say that deduction under section 16 clause 1A, 16 clause 2 and 16 clause 3. 3 deductions are there, no? If you follow 115 BAC and if you don't follow 115 BAC, yes or no? Tell me, these 3 deductions are available if you don't follow 115 BAC. This is available to government employee, yes or no? And this is available to all employees. But if you follow 115 BSc, then this will not be available, this will not be available. Yes or no? Only 16 clause 1A will be available. Here the limit will be 75,000 and here the limit will be 50,000. Got it, sir? Now, professional tax deduction. Professional tax will be available on what basis? Payment basis. On the basis of payment. Now you are not supposed to see that to which year the professional tax relates. Professional tax of last 2 years was not paid, so it was not allowed as a deduction. You pay it in this year, it will be allowed as a deduction in this year. Professional tax of this year paid in this year will be allowed as a deduction in this year. Professional tax of next year paid in advance in this year will be allowed as a deduction in this year. No need to see that to which year the professional tax relates. Professional tax for whatever previous year, this previous year, earlier previous year, next previous year, professional tax of any previous year paid in this year will be allowed as a deduction in this year. Yes or no? Hello, sir? But the professional tax which is paid by you will be allowed as a deduction. If it is deducted out of your salary, then also it will be allowed as a deduction. What if your salary was 10,000? What if your salary was 10,000? The employer gave you 10,000. Yes or no? This is employee. Yes or no? He is getting 10,000 salary. Out of his 10,000 salary, he is paying 100 rupees as what? Professional tax. So after paying 100 rupees professional tax, how much is remaining in his hand? 9,900 is remaining in his hands. So his salary was 10,000, employer gave also 10,000. Out of 10,000, employee himself has paid 100 rupees. What will be the tax treatment? First, what will be the taxable salary? 10,000. And out of that 10,000, 100 rupees professional tax is paid? No. Take the deduction under 16 clause 3. Will you be able to give this effect? How much salary will be taxable? 10,000. And out of that 10,000, he has paid how much? 100. For that 100, he is going to take the deduction. Yes or no? Now, sometimes the employer will not give you entire 10,000. No. Because if he will give you 10,000, there is no guarantee that out of that 10,000, you are going to pay 100 rupees professional tax. So what the employer does? Employer deducts 100 rupees from your salary itself. And how much is there? 9,900. This 9,900 is given to employee. Now will he again pay? Will he again pay to the state government? Out of his income only, the employer has deducted and employer has given this amount to the state government. Yes or no? So he is getting gross salary or net salary? Now my first question, for the employee under the head salary, how much salary will be taxable? How much salary income he will show? 10,000. He will show that my income is net or my income is gross. Gross, my income is 10,000. And out of this 10,000, employer deducted 100 and paid to the government. It is as good as paid by me only, no? Take the deduction under 16 clause 3. So if the professional tax is paid by you, or if it was deducted from your salary, it means it is paid by you. Gross salary will be taxable. Hello? The salary which you are receiving as gross, that will be taxable. And out of that, if you pay, or if the amount was deducted and paid by the employer, you are just supposed to take the deduction under 16 clause 3. Only one effect. Hello sir, possible? Now pay attention. Now what will happen? Your employer, what he is doing? He is 10,000 was your salary. This is the employee. Yes or no? So 10,000 entirely given to you. 10,000 entirely given to you. He would have deducted 100 out of your salary and he would have given you 9,900. Did he deduct 100? No. Now you are supposed to pay 100 rupees professional tax out of your salary. You are supposed to pay 100 rupees professional tax out of your, but you also did not pay. You also did not pay. It was neither deducted from your salary, nor you have paid out of your salary. This employer who is giving you salary, he is only paying 100 to the state government as your professional tax. Possible or not possible? Hello? So my first question, how much will be the salary for this year? 10,100. Whatever benefits happening from the employer during the previous year is your salary. Employer is giving you 10,000 as a salary. It is your benefit. Yes or no? And 100 rupees was your professional tax paid by the employer on your behalf. This is also a benefit happening from the employer. This is treated as your perquisite. This is treated as your under 17 subsection 2 clause 4. That you will come to know. So how much salary you are receiving in this year? Only 10,000 benefit you are getting from the employer, or 10,000 plus 100 paid on your behalf is also your benefit from the employer. Yes or no? So how much will be your taxable salary? 10,100. 10,100. Both will be taxable as your salary. Now how much is your total taxable salary? 10,100. Out of this 10,100, 100 was paid to the state government, no? In the form of. So if you would have got 10,100 and out of that 100 you would have paid, hello, that would have been allowed as a deduction. So out of your 10,000 which is coming in your hand, 100 rupees paid by the employer on your behalf, your salary is not taken as 10,000, it is taken as 10,100. Out of this 10,100, 100 rupees is already paid to the state government in the form of professional tax. Take the deduction of that 100. So now you are going to give two effects. First, this amount will be taxable as your salary, and then take the deduction under clause 3. Will you be able to do it? Yes or no? So this is the end of professional tax. All the 3 deductions I have already discussed. Now, we are short of time now. Now today's lecture will have to end here only, because we had lecture till 12 only, no? Yes or no? So what I'll do, today we are ending here. In tomorrow's lecture, salary in tomorrow's lecture we'll finish salary. Now what is remaining in salary? I'll tell you. Perquisites and retirement benefits. Retirement benefits: gratuity, pension, leave salary. Gratuity, pension, leave salary, then PF, NPS, NPS, VRS compensation, retrenchment compensation. Those things we are going to finish tomorrow. Yes or no? And along with that, perquisites also we are going to finish. We are not going to touch all the perquisites. We are going to touch those perquisites which are important, which are complicated. For all the other perquisites, I will give you idea what is to be done, what is not to be done. Yes or no? So tomorrow we are going to finish with this chapter. Okay. So today what are you going to do? I will forward these notes today. Go through these notes till the time, till the point we have studied today. Go through, and till that point, whatever illustrations are there in ICI study mat, solve all the illustrations. Okay. And if you have any doubt in any illustration, bring it to me. Sure? See you tomorrow. Bye bye. Yes.